Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Stacks. I'm your host, Bill Stacks, and today I got George Bishop. There's a lot of controversy surrounding all this, right? You get attacked a lot. So what do you got to say for the people who say that you're full of shit? What would you say to them people?
Oh, I'd say I've been confirmed by our lawyer. I don't know if you got to see that with your own eyes, but it would be easy to understand why there's a lot of confusion. But, I've been confirmed in every way, and the attacks have pretty much stopped. You can even look at some of my other interview. There has not been any bad comments in 2 or 3 years. You can hear crickets chirping. You can. As far as my status, my job was to protect my father. I don't know. A lot of people know he was in a wheelchair, but what would he's told me, son, you can't ever patch into one of these charters. They're going to see you as a threat. They could set you up for failure, lead you to your death.
So what's your status?
Founding family. I'm a legacy. A legacy member is higher than at a higher level than any general membership member patched into a charter. But think of this too. They seen early on with each charter independent that there needed to be some overview on what was going on, something to look over everything and figure out what's going on and keep the charters from getting into it with each other, and put things down.
But there's a difference. There's a difference between someone putting out history of the club, of their family, and then someone getting involved with it. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I mean, I had to kind of boss up. I'm getting you go big or stay home. They're pushing down on me with lies. I got 48 and the truth in my back. What would I have to worry about? We were always involved. The Hells Angel never retires. My father was in good standing. So why would I ever want to step back until everything's fixed and reestablished?
Whatever happened to his cut?
Thank you for bringing that up. He left out with the original Purdue and all that, as part of the regalia and the history of their club. Somehow that was sold to Outlaw Archive. I don't know if anybody knows this, but Outlaw Archive is LA gang intelligence, sheriff's department, and the feds working together. They're trying to control the history of, think of it as Communist Manifesto, control the past.
They're not supposed to own any of that because it's property of the club.
Yeah.
How are they able to own it?
Somebody's pockets were lined. Somebody got very rich, but when they were changing the history, then they didn't want any of that original stuff around. I can't really say for sure, but I know members of the Mother Charter had to have sold that stuff. Had to have sold that stuff. That's how Outlaw Archive ended up with it. That cut should have come to me. Should have come back to me. Come back to our family. All that stuff. It was left as a club for. That's their history. It's their regalia. It's their museum and all their living history. The spoken words is also the history that you pass on of your fallen brothers, and the history of the stories and all that, the tales of glory. But yeah, that's very good questions. Thank you. If I could have, if I would have wrote down I'm doing that shooting from the hip. I don't mind doing that. But if I would have wrote down a draft of what I wanted you to ask me, yeah, exactly.
So people are going to ask a lot of questions, right? People are going to put questions in the chat and things like that. And are you willing to come back on once they ask these questions?
Yes,
are you willing to come back on and answer them?
Absolutely. Yeah. I didn't think about, they talked about an indemnity clause, this stuff that's above my pay grade, but I did good, in that last interview, and it was going up and the views, but I didn't realize I give everybody in the world a shot forever to take everybody, all our enemies, snitches, all the people we drop paperwork on, all our enemies in the club, to make fake profiles and just shoot and take shots at me in the comments below. And that's exactly what happened. None of those profiles, it wasn't the club doing that at all. It was, I was in the white nationalist movement for a long time. My beliefs have changed, but it was every enemy that I had accumulated and our family had accumulated and for a long time that was taking shots. But you could hear crickets chirping for 2 years. Nobody said, hey, and if I was fake, I wouldn't be breathing right now. I wouldn't.
Have you ever run across any members, and have they had a problem with you?
Yeah, I in contact with members. Yeah, no, nobody's said anything bad in a long time. I'm getting lots of love, private messages, and all that.
Did you ever speak with George Christie?
Yeah, yeah, I had. I've talked to George, and he was considering doing a second interview. You know, the most famous living Hell's Angel in the world right now. He was considering. Did I send you that our private chat where he said I said no cover wants a second interview. George, would you consider? Would you consider it? He said, well, I'm overwhelmed at work right at the time, but perhaps in the future. Now, how would the most famous living Hell's Angel consider doing an interview with me? How would I be acknowledged by our longtime club lawyer, Fritz Clapp, publicly and privately, on and on and on, if I was fake? Now, they wouldn't. They wouldn't even reply to me. So I can provide all that information. I can provide
Yeah,
Fritz
but
Clapp.
so Chuck Zito, there's some people like so George Christie's out bad, right?
No, we never got a notice. I said, my father loved Sonny, but in that situation, he would have sided with George. But I'll say it like this: calling 911 isn't calling police; it's calling a centralized operator station, centralized in the area it operates in. Then when they answer the phone, they say, how may we direct your call? Fire, EMT, or police. When we're ripping and roaring on the road, a lot of times we won't know what state we're in, let alone township or whatever. I'd say George would she had let her die, but my father thought that he came up with the perfect compromise. All George originally asked for was an apology to the general membership. And if the brothers had agged George into confronting Sonny on that, had stood with him, he would have got his apology, and then they would have just moved forward. But they ghosted him. We never got a notice that George Christie was out bad, and we would have got one. Like, they've been lied to for a long time. My last contact with the brothers is I said I want that fake history down on hellsangels.com. I want that IP pinged. I wasn't surprised it was Sunkist Drive, Gary Gordon Grove. And I'm going through a lot, but nobody else can help you fix your life but yourself. I'm clean and sober now, and I lost my ID. My license were expired. I couldn't get tied up into that driving under suspended thing, and I'm trying to get my life together. I just had a lot going on. But when I got back online and got my phone going again, I would lose the phone just from chaos that I was in. That fake history was down on hellsangels.com. That made me cry. I get emotional at times. Yeah, that made me cry that it was on. I couldn't believe it.
What's your goal for the future? I mean, what are your
My
plans?
goal is to do anything positive that I can do for the reputation of the club, to get the truth out about the club, and to get my father and family recognized. That's the main part, so he can live with his brothers forever. It's a big step that the fake history's down, but it's not the brothers' fault. A lot more we could talk about if I talk to you again in the future. But just they said that I'm not trying to take anything away from Sun. It was a bunch of misfits until Sun took over. The founding family. My grandfather, William Bradford Bishop Sr. What did he do? Did he pump gas? No, he was a Yale graduate. He's a geologist, like the scientist on Jurassic Park that found dinosaur DNAs in amber.
Yeah.
And my youngest uncle was a Yale legacy. So that was, all high IQ Mensa Society members. The club couldn't be more legit.
What do you think of some of the police departments out there designating the Hells Angels as a gang, an organized crime?
Wow. This just keeps getting better. Thank you. Yeah, when I became an Iron Horseman, you're touching on everything that I would want to speak on for defense of our brothers, get off our backs. But, every time they do a story about Hells Angels or the Iron Horsemen in Cincinnati, they're known for drugs and prostitution. They throw that in there. I talked to Shulkins. He was Iron Horseman's club lawyer. And I said, you ought to sue these we're against that in every way. Prostitution, we're a family-oriented club. It's family. We don't have brothers' nights and old ladies. We don't have wives' night and old ladies' nights. There's never been a case of prostitution with Iron Horsemen, Hells Angels or Iron Horsemen. Drugs, very few. But you know who was the most infamous organization in the tri-state when I was in Cincinnati? Literally hundreds and hundreds of cases, what they called bringing into jail. They're not bringing it into jail to flush it down the toilet. Hamilton County Sheriff's Office. There are officers bringing drugs in, having drugs in their house, being involved in illegal trafficking drugs. You know, and they gave them a pass on it. They use that. Why don't they paint themselves with the same broad stroke, you know, that they do us? When I left the Iron Horseman, it was less than good terms at first, but I managed to stay in contact backwards. Bob Graininger, he's an awesome guy, and I got my name cleared. But
when did you get affiliated with them, the Iron Horseman?
I had always known some, you know, being in Cincinnati. That's where their mother charter is. I tried to get into our club the first time. I was, you know, under Reggie Honecker, and they stopped us, so I became Iron Horseman. When I left that club, most of the brothers they were bringing in were straight edge. They didn't even drink caffeine. They were in the gym, living a clean, healthy life.
So his phone died, but I'm going to bring him back on for part 2. You guys can put your questions in the description of this video. Put your comments, put your questions for him, and we'll get back to him with all those and have them answered for you. I hope you guys liked this interview. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can get my videos every time they drop. And if you don't like this show, too bad. Start your own podcast. Peace.